Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good morning, everyone. You're watching the Business Portal, your gateway to business trends and opportunities. Welcome to PISObilities, live here in GNN. I'm your host, Gopalan of Colayco Foundation, and joining me today is my co-host, Ms. Mags Paguyo. This is the show that discusses your ability to earn and manage your peso and the possibilities of making that same peso work for you, your PISObilities. So our topic for today is all about freelancers. So employment, contractual service, business, we've all heard about these before. So these are the most familiar ways to earn money. But there's a growing trend, a new way of earning income through freelancing. Now, you may have known some people who are engaged with this kind of work, friends, colleagues, relatives, but freelancing is now a viable income earning opportunity, whether part-time or full-time. Basically, a freelancer is someone who is self-employed and is not committed to a single employer long-term. Sometimes they're referred to as independent contractors or consultants. So for today, we will discover the world of freelancing. We'll talk about what it means to be a freelancer, its benefits and challenges, how lucrative freelancing can be in the Philippines, and how you too can take advantage of this opportunity.
Yes, very good background, Guita. And for our first two guests who have navigated the waters of freelancing for several years now, we have Mr. Dart Tiglao, who is an online strategist who works primarily in the digital or online space. And also we have Mr. Jonah Paculan, who is a voiceover artist, singer, and musician whose work is more face-to-face and events-based.
So hello, thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Bilang freelancer kayo, hindi naman namin kayo hinatak sa mahirap na ano, di ba?
Yeah,
Na
yeah.
schedule.
Hindi aplikado ang 9 to 5 sa amin.
Okay, we think we can talk more about that. I think that's a very clear benefit. So, I guess for our viewers,
Yes, don't forget to join in our discussion. Send us your opinion or question to 0917-853-7333 and kindly indicate your name and location so we can properly acknowledge you.
okay, so to start off, no, so alam lang ng audience natin, you're freelancers. And well, let's assume some of them know, some of them don't know. But, you know, let's get to know you guys first individually. I mean,
Okay,
saan ba kayo nanggaling? Paano ba kayo, like, do you guys have family? Are you married? Anong, what's up with that?
Go
Okay.
na. All right.
That's okay. Since Mr. Dart already gave it to Mr. Jonah, yes?
All right. Hi, I'm Jonah Paculan. I am a voiceover artist for commercials. I usually do voice, as the name implies, I do voiceovers for commercials. So, especially if you guys watch local TV, chances are I've probably contributed a little bit to the soundscape of your life.
I see. So, where did you come from school? What's your background? Is there like a voiceover course in the Philippines?
Actually, I got into voiceover in a very coincidental way. I graduated from Ateneo psychology, so I don't know how I got. Yeah, I don't know how I got into voiceover, but it's actually a very interesting story.
I see. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah.
Sir Dart.
Yes.
Yes. What's your background?
Background, medyo malayo eh. From college kasi, AB Humanities, and I also have a minor in Japanese.
Okay.
So, hindi masyado technical, but I learned that through my first job in Inquirer.net. Before, it was INQ7. So, everything na from, nag-start pa lang kasi mga websites nun eh. So, 2000, 2001. There, I had to be a writer, I had to be a web designer, konting web development. So, from there, nakita ko pwede din naman I can do other jobs aside from mag-moonlight, kumbaga.
So, you mentioned the term, no? Moonlighting. Yun yung mga sa simpleng salita,
Oo.
racket yan eh, di ba?
Oo,
Yun
racket.
yung
Yes,
tawag, no? But moonlighting is something you do when you're employed and then
Pwede pa,
medyo
oo.
matagal ng term yun. Ang
Oo
uso
nga.
na ngayon, yung tinatawag nga nilang di ba, freelancing.
Freelancing.
So right now, both of you are full-time freelancers, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are full-time freelancers.
Full-time.
See, okay. And I think earlier, no, pinapakita sa on-screen yung some of your work. I think like the Manila Times.
Yes. And you
Forever
did Forever
21.
21.
Yes.
Ayun. So, how many years have you guys been doing this? Maybe you can start with Jonah.
I've been doing voiceovers. I started out doing it maybe back in 2010. Back then I was still moonlighting because I still had another job then, which was still very much related to advertising and production. I was a sound engineer. And I've been doing it full time, so I stopped being a sound engineer. I've been doing it full time since mid-2011, so 2 years. Wow, 2 years.
Yeah, wow.
And you, Sir Dart?
Tagal na rin kasi even back in college, tawag nga sa akin, mahilig mag-racket eh.
Ah, ganun. Okay.
Even in college, minsan nagpapatulong gumawa ng papers, and nililibre ako. Minsan, talaga eh, by cash, papatulong sa thesis. Even then, general freelancing nag-ano rin ako. Siguro first payment ko is guitar tutoring dati.
Guitar?
Back in
Walang
college.
kinalaman sa
Oo.
online
Wala.
strategist
Pero
yan.
from there ko kasi nalaman na pwede palang unconventional way of earning. So, as early as then, naisip ko na other ways, kung ano man ang pagkakitaan. Pero that was 13 years ago na, 14 years ago. So, matagal na rin ako.
Since nag-guitar tutor ka. So ngayon, kasama pa ba yan in the things that you do?
Hindi
For
na
friends
masyado.
na lang. Okay, and you, do you have a similar story? Like, I mean, was this a lifestyle that you also thought about before? Or did you, I guess you mentioned you were working for Inquire.net. It was a
for 1 year.
full-time
For 1 year.
position. I see. So, ikaw din, di ba, you have a...
We sort of have, I guess, the same mindset coming out of college. Because coming out of college, I never really thought of going to an office. The whole idea of an office was very stiff. It was very stifling for me. So 9 months later, I went to an office, and we found out that was really true. So
Test the waters, kumbaga.
test the waters, and after surviving all of 1 month in an office, I decided to get into something less officey. I decided to get into sound engineering, and for a time it was there, and eventually I got my first big break because in voiceover the voiceover field is very much kind of like at the entertainment industry, that you need like a big break to come in, at least in my opinion.
Right.
It came when I was doing my my sound engineer thing, and then as it's common in the advertising industry to always be in a hurry because deadlines. Oh my gosh, ito na. And sometimes the producers in their rush, they decide na, uy, Jonah, ikaw na lang gumawa nitong boses na to. And then that's when my first voiceovers came.
Oh, so it sort of happened by accident.
It sort of happened. Hindi lang sort of, it was really by accident. It just came in, and then one thing led to another, and then they realized, oh, this guy got some skills. So there, and I eventually decided to do it full time.
I see. Is that something similar that happened?
Very similar din, oo. Kasi a lot of it is accident din talaga eh. Pero of course, sa mga ginagawa mo, papakita mo na you're doing just one thing lagi. May kita nila ng, kahit na anong position ka sa work mo, nakita nila, magaling pala to, yun, kunyari maganda pala voice niya. Or magaling pala mag-design pala, or magaling mag-write. So, similar nangyari sa akin. I was hired, I think parang technical assistant lang sa office noon. Pero I showed them na, pag wala nga tao, exactly. Ikaw na lang muna magsulat, tapos nagawa ko. Mamaya ako na yung gumagawa ng breaking news. Tapos mamaya noon, nakita nila, nag-aaral ako on the side ng web design on my own time. Nakita na, try mo kaya ayusin tong So, mamaya ang dami ko ng trabaho.
Precursor ng INQ.
May mga before pa sa amin, pero dami ko rin natutunan from the staff there. Pero nakita nila, ito, paggawa ko na rin sa'yo. Yun ang danger din. Pero it's a good accident na makita nila na you can do other stuff.
So you were doing this on the side. I mean, both of you employed full-time. You were doing this on the side. I guess, what made you finally take,
Yes,
leave
decide
your...
na, you guys would want to just go freelance full-time.
Well, going back to our aforementioned aversion to 9 to 5.
Uy, nakarelate si Dart.
Yes, very much. Aversion talaga.
Parang kanina pa nila nasi-stress yung 9 to 5 na yun.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're from 9 to 5, so
Not
we
full
can't
respect.
Full
relate.
respect naman.
Yeah,
Kasi
yeah.
ano,
I mean, it's not. It's not.
Yes.
It depende na sa tao yun. Pero for us, we didn't. We wanted. I guess a priority for us was to have our own time. Was to have control of our own time. So when looking back, when I was as a sound engineer, it was fun. It was a very fun and creative work, but it was still very constricting, at least for me. So I decided to go into voiceovers once it started, reaching a critical mass. I decided to get into voiceovers to have my own time, to be able to control what I could do with my day, to just chill. I don't know what to
see.
say.
For you, Dart.
Ganun din. Kasi right after graduation, aside from yung mga racket-racket, I tried freelance writing for siguro a year before I got into a 9 to 5 na work. Tapos, ang thing kasi, I was feeling college pa rin na I can go out with my friends, I can travel. Pero sa 1 year ko sa work na yon, even though of course I learned a lot there, it was a good experience, parang ang bilis ng panahon. Diba? Teka, 1 year ko na hindi nakita yung mga friends ko, 1 year na ako hindi nakaka-travel. Yung mga ganung bagay na, teka, parang may nag-click sa akin I can go back to freelancing. So, siguro yun yung pinaka sa akin. Nakita ko na, siguro one story of it, kasi I used to do mountain climbing sa org, as an org. So, when I was signing my resignation, nalagay ko because I miss climbing the mountain. Tapos yung supervisor ko, huwag mo lagay yan. Lagay mo na lang, may other opportunity ka, huwag mo na lagay na ganyan. Parang bad form. Yun lang. Pero yung mga ganun, natutunan ko rin na kahit na freelancer ka or creative, you're in a creative field, dapat ka pa rin. Medyo professional ka pa rin how you
So I guess for both of you, there was a lifestyle that, the full-time employment, traditional 9 to 5, 8 to 5 type of work didn't kind of suit the lifestyle that you wanted for yourselves.
It didn't really appeal to us in a way that it may appeal to other people. So, based on conversations that I've had with friends who have 9 to 5 jobs, there's a focus for people. What I've noticed is for people like them, there's a focus on security and routine, and maybe that's not something that we personally don't have. We personally value. We value more freedom. We value more flexibility, and that's a very essential thing when you want to be a freelancer. Freedom, and that's something.
Okay, Sir Jonah, since you mentioned it, I'm sure our televiewers will be curious to know, how did you sustain your freelancing life? Because, we know na in freelancing, you find your own work or you get calls from old clients. So how did you sustain it? Kasi we're talking about here, di ba? Hindi naman monthly there's income.
Yeah.
So how like for the young kids watching now, you explained already how you guys started na for you it's an accident, and for you just decided upon it while working from your rackets. So how did you guys sustain the lifestyle of
I
being
guess,
a
how did you
freelancer?
transition? We know now why you transitioned. And how did you transition? How did you, I'm sure, major change yan, di ba?
Yeah,
Parang,
yeah.
what
Definitely.
like what did you go through in like starting out? Ano nangyari? Parang, how did you manage that?
Well, in the voiceover industry, that is actually a very, very real, not really problem, but real issue, that your income is not constant. Because back then when I was a sound engineer, like clockwork, 15, 30, my salary will come, and then you can plan your life around, okay, darating na pera ko, I'm gonna spend this and do this and budget accordingly and stuff like that. When you're a freelancer, you have to be a lot more flexible and a lot more what's the
Good
word?
in budgeting.
Good, a lot better in budgeting,
Right.
and you have to have, I think this is really important, you have to have a lot of self-control, because if, for example, for someone with a 9 to 5 job, the salary will come. The salary will come in a constant stream, and the
So there's
50th,
regularity there.
there's a
Okay.
regularity. So 50th you get this much, 30th you get this much, and so on and so forth. For a freelancer, it can be very, very, very erratic. So on one month, maybe, oh my gosh, I have so much money. Hallelujah.
Exactly.
I'm not kidding. And in other months, you're like, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? What's wrong with my life? Ganon.
Parang nakarelate si Dart. Dart,
Oo,
ano,
ganon.
ganon din ba yung
Ganon.
experience
It's
mo?
it's a big adjustment, pero yung nga, from my experience kasi, before I went to talagang full-time, I tried it na college and 1 year after college. So medyo mas smooth din yung transition sa akin. Pero of course, that 1 year, bigla akong sanay na 9 to 5, na alam ko yung sweldo ko, papasok dito, papasok doon, these times. Mahirap din. And up to now, it's a challenge din budgeting. Pero I think one important thing, basic budgeting. Kunyari, because I came from 9 to 5, kahit sandali yun, meron akong buffer na ito, pwede ako magwala and experiment on
That's
different,
that's
for...
So may savings siya,
Oo.
Miss Guita.
Basically savings din. Kasi nga,
Very good.
hindi rin klaseng savings na discipline din. Kasi sa haba ng work ko noon, lampas 9 to 5 yun eh. Meron pang mga rin, I didn't have time to go out at all. So,
Less
the money's just there,
Yeah.
but I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's the thing with money din eh, na hindi mo naman ma-enjoy, okay nandyan.
Yeah.
Sayang. Yung pag freelance ka, ayun, of course, extra, siguro discipline nga, pero siguro looking forward, alam mo yung months na wala masyadong racket or wala masyadong clients, which is, pwede mo ma-predict yan after a while eh, kung kailan talaga.
I see. So I think the money is the managing money is a big change. I mean, you
Yeah,
both
yeah.
mentioned that.
Definitely.
Any other things like that need to be an issue or concern? Because you work by yourself, diba, in essence. No? Ganon din ikaw. I mean, kami, we're from a company wherein, there's somebody else who has to pay the bills, somebody else who, manages, collections and all these things. Like, paano nangyari sa inyo? Did you guys have to learn, all these, like, if you're a company kasi, you need at least 5 people, to handle everything. Your admin, your marketing, your everything. So, kayo, you're self-contained, di ba? It's all on your shoulders.
Freelancing is very much a solitary way of hindi naman sa nakatago kami sa kubo na kami lang mag-isa. That's not what we mean. But it's a very solitary way of going about things. As opposed to maybe when you're in a company that you can rely on your boss to motivate you because, well, if you don't do your job, you're fired. When you're freelancing, you're your own boss. So how do you fire yourself? That's the question. I guess you fire yourself by starving or something like that. But I guess one very important thing that you need when you're freelancing is you have to have self-motivation. You have to, because unlike maybe when you're in a 9 to 5 job, you can work hard here and then in other hours you can maybe slack off a little bit and then you'll still get paid. When you're freelancing, when you don't work, you don't get paid. When you don't market yourself, no one's gonna get you. If you don't show up to the client meeting or whatever, you don't get paid.
Ikaw, Dart, what's your take on that?
Tama rin yun. Parang solitary ka na in a way na you have to decide what to do na within the day and within the coming months. Pero ako, I think I had a medyo epiphany when I had to see na I have to work with other people pa rin.
Kasi the nature then of your work is different.
Yeah, so kasi sa start, I have to do everything from syempre, the marketing, the operations, na lahat yan isang tao nga. Pero after a while, I saw na there's a need for me to hire other contractors or to partner with other freelancers, na web designers, and sometimes even in a different industry na mas writing sila, mas expertise sila, this or that. So, when I started doing that, medyo mas nag-improve yung output ko. Pero before, talagang solo. A big part of it is very technical eh. And the problem with something technical, you tend to forget the personal aspect of doing business, which is closing deals, making sure the clients are happy. So, may neglect ako at one point. So, iniisip ko na, teka, itong designer na to, actually, mas magaling sa akin. Itong developer na to, mas magaling sa akin. Paso kaya. So, I have, so, it became, solo ka, what to do, pero you're building a network of other contractors.
So, ganun din, mga freelancers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, right now, we know that you're parang freelancing is obviously something that you guys enjoy doing. I mean, yun na yung point nun, diba? That's what you got into. So maybe later we can talk about how do you manage that lifestyle? Because as you mentioned, it's not easy.
It's not,
But
Yes,
there
how
are
do you
certain
find
benefits,
clients?
no?
Where do you find it?
Yep.
So,
Yes, so don't forget, guys, send your text messages, your opinion and questions to 0917-853-7333. And please don't forget to indicate your name and location. PISObilities will be back after a short break.
Di ko sinasabi sa'yo na magkakakotse ka next year o magkakakondo ka next year. Di ko sinasabing magkaka-house and lot ka na may swimming pool at sariling bakuran o magiging manager ka ng sarili mong fast food restaurant. Di ko sinasabing makakapag-European tour kayo ni Mrs. next month o mapapag-aral si Bunso sa UP at si Kuya sa Ateneo sa susunod na pasukan. Di ko sinasabi ang lahat ng ito para bulahin ka na maraming pwedeng mangyari sa buhay mo bukod sa kung ano ang meron ka ngayon. Ang sinasabi ko lang, walang mangyayari kung manonood ka lang. Tawag ka o text mo kami o i-click mo ito www.kskcoop.com. Sabi ko sa'yo, posible ang mga ito.